The rain had been falling steadily for 3 days in Port Ansel, a seaside town where the air always smelled like salt and coffee. Nathan Holt sat in the farthest corner of the Thistle and Quill bookshop, sketchpad open on his lap, pencil dragging slow arcs across the paper. He wasn't drawing anything in particular, just lines. Texture. Rain, maybe. Or the silence he couldn't describe. He had come to Port Ansel on impulse. After his father's funeral, after selling the house, after ending things with Lila. The city had felt too loud. His apartment too full of ghosts. This place, tucked between a mossy cliff and the Pacific, offered anonymity and stillness. The bell above the bookshop door chimed. He didn't look up until the air shifted beside him. A woman stood near the shelf to his left, flipping through a book on coastal birds. She wore a navy raincoat, and her dark grey hair was pinned in a loose twist. She looked to be in her mid-40s, with the posture of someone who had carried weight and let it shape her. Something about her presence made Nathan pause. She turned slightly, sensing his glance, and smiled faintly. "You sketch," Nathan blinked. He rarely spoke to anyone here. "Sometimes," he said. "That one looks like wind," she said, nodding toward the page. He looked down. It did. She extended a hand. "Eleanor." He hesitated, then took it. Her grip was firm, grounding. "Nathan." She didn't linger, just nodded once more and moved along the shelves. But something about her stayed with him even after she left, trailing rain and a scent like cedar. That night, he found himself drawing again, not rain or silence, but her. Not her face exactly, but the idea of her. Strong lines, unapologetic presence. He didn't expect to see her again, but Port Ansel had a way of folding paths together, and Eleanor wasn't just passing through. She had come here to forget something too, something she would never quite say aloud. Not yet, but soon, and it would begin with a photograph. Port Ansel always woke slowly, like a reluctant dreamer. By mid-morning, the mist still clung to rooftops and lingered in alleyways like half-formed thoughts. Nathan wandered to the only cafe open early, a place called Teed and Timber tucked behind the marina. He didn't expect to see her again, but there she was, Eleanor, sitting alone by the window, her fingers curled around a chipped ceramic mug, a camera resting on the table beside her. Not a sleek DSLR, vintage film camera, heavy, weathered. She looked up and caught his eye. This time, she waved him over. "I don't usually talk to strangers twice," she said as he slid into the chair across from her. "But I figured you're more of a fog person than a sunshine one." "That obvious?" She smirked. "You sketch in a bookshop during a storm. That tells me everything I need to know." Nathan glanced at the camera. "You shoot film." Eleanor's fingers grazed its leather casing. "I used to. Thought I might start again. There's a roll in here from 3 years ago I never developed." "Why not?" She shrugged, eyes distant. "Didn't want to remember what I shot." They sat in silence a while. Comfortable. The kind of silence that doesn't beg to be filled. Then she slid the camera across the table. "Here, you finished the roll." Nathan blinked. "Me? It only has 5 exposures left. Take it. Shoot whatever you want. Then bring it back." He hesitated. "Why?" "Because maybe when it's not all mine, I'll be brave enough to look." Her voice didn't waver, but something behind her words carried a weight Nathan didn't touch. He nodded slowly. "Okay." She stood, slinging her coat over one shoulder. "Take your time." As she left, he looked down at the old camera. It was heavier than he expected, and warmer. Almost like memory itself. Later that day, he took the first photo, the empty pier stretching into the fog, ropes swaying like veins. Then a gull mid-flight. Then a stray dog sleeping beside a closed bait shack. 3 clicks. 2 left. He held them like secrets, like something fragile. Because now, it wasn't just about what he saw. It was about seeing for someone else, and that changed everything. 2 days later, Nathan returned to Tide and Timber. The cafe was quieter than usual, the fog outside thick and unmoving. Eleanor was already there. Same seat, same chipped mug. The camera lay on the table, facing him like a silent invitation. He placed the finished roll beside it. "You didn't use the last 2 shots," she noted. "I wanted to leave room," he said, "in case you changed your mind." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she picked up the camera and held it like something sacred. "There's a little place outside town," she said. "Used to be a gas station. Now it's just wild grass and an old fence. I'll meet you there tomorrow." Sunset. When Nathan arrived, the sky was smeared with burnt orange and violet. Eleanor was already there, standing near a rusted pump, the camera raised to her eye. She didn't speak until she clicked the shutter. "That was the last one," she said. They stood together in the dusk. Crickets chirped somewhere far off. "You said you didn't want to see what was on the roll," Nathan said gently. She looked down. "I lied. I didn't want to see it alone." The next day, they brought the film to a local developer. It would take 3 days. Eleanor didn't avoid him during that time. They met for coffee, talked about nothing and everything. Art, books, why fog makes some people feel safe. On the third day, the photos came back in a paper envelope. They opened them at the cafe. Nathan recognized his own images first: the pier, the gull, the dog. Then came hers. A child's swing, half submerged in dune grass. A man's coat draped over a porch railing. A boy's face, smiling, hair windblown, maybe 8 years old. Then another. The boy again, this time in a field, running. Eleanor stared at that photo for a long time. "He was mine," she said finally. "His name was Caleb." Nathan said nothing. He didn't need to. "Car accident. 3 years ago. We were supposed to go camping that weekend. I had to work late. He went with his dad." She turned the photo over, blank. "That was the last picture I took." Nathan reached for her hand. She let him hold it. There was no comfort big enough. But there was presence. And sometimes that was all that mattered. "Thank you," she said, voice breaking. "For what?" "For finishing what I couldn't." He gave a small nod. "You started it. I just helped turn the page." The days after the photos felt different. Something unspoken had shifted. Nathan found himself walking to the cafe without checking the clock, as if pulled by gravity. Eleanor was often there before him. They spoke more now about the in-between things. Regret. How grief rearranges the furniture of your mind. What silence does when you let it stretch. She asked about his father. He didn't answer right away. He left. Nathan finally said, eyes fixed on the grain of the table. "When I was 10, came back when I was 25. With cancer. I took care of him for 9 months. Then I buried him." Eleanor didn't offer condolences, just nodded slowly. One morning, she invited him to her cottage. It sat at the edge of town, a place wrapped in ivy and ocean wind. Inside, it smelled like sandalwood and old paper. A gallery of forgotten light. Photos were everywhere, frames stacked against walls, black and white portraits, city streets, blurred motion, still life. Nothing recent. Most of this is boxed, Eleanor said, brushing dust from a frame. "I stopped exhibiting after Caleb." Nathan walked slowly through the rooms, pausing at a photo of a young couple on a rooftop, wind in their hair, joy in their mouths. "Was that you?" She smiled faintly. Once, in a sunlit room, he noticed an easel with a covered canvas. He reached for the cloth, paused. "You can look," she said. He pulled it back. It was a painting, not a photo. Soft oils. A boy on a beach, running with a kite. The sky smeared in wild yellow. The boy's face turned away. "It's not him," she said quietly. "It's how I imagine he'd look if..." She didn't finish. Nathan understood. They sat on the porch afterward, mugs of tea warming their hands. "I don't know what this is," Nathan said finally. "Us." "Me neither," Eleanor replied. "But it doesn't feel wrong." "No, it doesn't." A gull cried overhead, diving into the grey. Neither of them looked away. It was Eleanor's idea to go to the shoreline that night. "The tide's low," she said. "The beach turns into a mirror." They walked under a sky stippled with stars, cool air pressing close. Nathan carried a thermos of tea. Eleanor brought a lantern. They didn't speak much as they walked. The waves whispered against the sand, and somewhere in the distance, a seal barked from a slick of rocks. They sat near a tide pool, their reflections flickering in the water. Eleanor reached down and plucked a shard of sea glass from the sand. "Green," she said. "Always the hardest to find." Nathan took it from her palm, held it to the lantern light. "It looks like a fragment of sky." She smiled, quiet. "I used to collect them." With Caleb, we kept them in jars by the window. He said they caught dreams. They fell into silence again, not heavy but full. Later, when the wind picked up, they built a small fire near the dunes. Nathan watched Eleanor, her face carved in light and shadow. I don't think I've sat by a fire with someone since my mom, he said softly. Was she kind? He nodded. She hummed all the time. Even when she didn't know she was doing it, it made the house feel less sharp. Eleanor stared into the flames. Caleb did that too, not humming, but talking to the dog, telling her stories. It filled the quiet. They stayed like that for a long while. No need to move. No rush to name the space between them. When the fire had faded to embers, they walked back slowly. At her doorstep, she paused. Thank you for tonight. Nathan met her gaze. You gave me something I didn't know I missed. She nodded once, then slipped inside. He stood there a moment longer, the sea glass still in his pocket, warm from her hand. He didn't know what they were, but for the first time in months, maybe years, he didn't feel lost. The rain returned the next day, tapping lightly on the cafe windows like it was rehearsing something. Nathan arrived early, sketchpad under one arm, expecting to find Eleanor already seated. She wasn't. Instead, there was a girl in a yellow coat standing just inside the doorway, hair damp, eyes scanning the room. She spotted him immediately. Nathan, he blinked, as if trying to place her in a dream he thought he'd forgotten. Leela? She smiled. You're a hard man to find. She ordered coffee and joined him at the table, peeling off her coat. She looked almost the same warm brown eyes, restless fingers. But something had softened, or frayed. I didn't think you'd come, he said quietly. You didn't leave much behind, she replied. No phone, no note, just gone. I needed quiet. Lila stirred her coffee. I thought we needed time. I didn't know you meant apart forever. Nathan didn't respond. The silence stretched. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook. You left this in the apartment. I didn't read it. He took it, fingers brushing hers. Thanks. Just then, the cafe door opened. Eleanor stepped in, rain still clinging to her hair. She paused when she saw them. Nathan stood instinctively. Eleanor. It's okay, she said, voice even. I didn't know you had company. Lila glanced between them. So, this is where you landed. I didn't plan it, Nathan said. It just happened. Eleanor nodded once, then walked to the counter. I should go, Lila said, rising. Nathan looked torn. Stay. Or no. I don't know. She placed a hand on his arm. Whatever this is, it's yours now. Don't run from it. Then she left. Nathan stood there for a long moment, then crossed the room to Eleanor. She's from another life, he said. Eleanor looked at him. And this? He took a breath. This feels like the one I'm choosing. She nodded slowly. Then, let's see what it becomes. They sat together. Quietly, steadily, as the rain whispered approval on the glass. The next morning, Nathan didn't go to the cafe. He walked the bluff trail instead, the one that skirted the cliffside where the wind felt like saltwater memory. He needed time. To think. To breathe. Lila's return had stirred something he didn't want to name. Not guilt. Not longing. More like the ache of unresolved chapters. He'd come to Port Ansel to escape the weight of unfinished things, but maybe he'd only been deferring them. Later, he found Eleanor tending to her garden. She didn't look surprised when he appeared at her gate. Coffee, she asked. Only if you'll talk to me while I drink it. Inside, the silence stretched, not tense but expectant. She left, he said. Leela. She came to say goodbye, not to reclaim anything. Eleanor nodded, not asking for more. I thought I'd buried it all. But seeing her reminded me, I don't always leave things clean. Eleanor set down her mug. Most people don't. I don't want to repeat that here. With you. She looked at him then long, measured. I'm not afraid of your past, Nathan. I'm only afraid if you pretend it doesn't shape you. He sat forward. I care about you. In a way that feels like it sneaks up on me every day. But I don't know how to carry someone without dropping pieces of myself. You don't have to carry me, she said. Just walk beside me. He exhaled. That I can do. They sat like that until the kettle whistled again. In another room, Eleanor's camera rested on the windowsill, pointed at the garden, where something had just begun to bloom. Eleanor proposed the idea casually, over toast and marmalade. "There's an abandoned greenhouse outside town," she said. "Used to be part of an orchard. I thought we could bring it back. Maybe make a space for light and stillness." Nathan set down his mug. "You want to restore it together." And that word together settled in the room like morning sun. They spent the next weeks hauling broken glass, clearing brush, repairing the skeletal ironwork. It was hard work, honest and raw. Eleanor photographed the process. Nathan sketched the way ivy twisted into the rafters. The town took notice. A few curious passers-by asked questions. Soon, volunteers came. A florist, a retired carpenter, a teacher on sabbatical. They named it the lighthouse, not for the sea, but for the feeling it evoked. One afternoon, Nathan arrived early and found Eleanor inside, her face caught in a shaft of light from a new paint they'd installed. She was laughing with a young girl, showing her how to water seedlings without drowning them. He watched quietly, something in his chest pulling tight. Later, as they sat in the back corner near the blooming rosemary, he said, "I think I'm afraid." "Of what? Of being seen?" "Really seen?" Eleanor looked at him steady. "What if being seen isn't about exposure? What if it's about being held?" Nathan reached for her hand. "Then hold me, please." She didn't hesitate. Outside, dusk pooled around the greenhouse like a gentle tide. Inside, two people sat among light and roots and new beginnings. And for once, neither of them was pretending. The letter came in a plain envelope with a London postmark. Eleanor opened it while Nathan swept the porch of the lighthouse, unaware. She read it once, then again. Her fingers trembled slightly. When Nathan returned, she folded the letter into her coat pocket and smiled like nothing had changed. But something had. That evening, she told him, "It's a fellowship," she said. "An old mentor nominated me years ago. I never thought I'd be chosen. It's for a photographic residency in Cornwall. 6 months." Nathan said nothing at first. He sat beside her, the sky dimming behind them. "That's incredible," he said finally. "You should go." She looked at him. "But what if I don't want to leave this?" He exhaled. "Then stay. But not for me, for you." They sat in silence, a slow sadness settling between them. The next days were quieter. The lighthouse bloomed and breathed around them. Kids painted planters. Artists donated prints. Visitors wandered in, drawn by the feeling that something whole was being built inside the glass. Eleanor didn't decide right away. She watched Nathan teach a boy how to sketch trees. She listened to him explain why shadows matter, and she realized something. She wasn't afraid of leaving. She was afraid of forgetting. On the final day of the week, she took Nathan's hand. "I think I need to go," she said. "Not to escape, but to carry this with me. To finish something I started long ago." Nathan kissed her forehead, "Then go. And come back if the season still fits." She smiled. "Some mornings stay, even when the people don't." He watched her walk away down the path lined with sea lavender and rosemary, the same path they'd cleared together. Not with despair, but with a strange, beautiful hope. Because what they had built wasn't a romance. It was a place inside each other, and that never leaves.